something more than you love yourself. And so it's so rewarding, while at the same time, it's so fucking scary. There's nothing scarier than having a fucking kid and knowing how harsh the world can be, and then like you want nothing but the good for them, and like for them to not have to go through any struggles, but then you're like sitting there and you know that you have to go through struggles and you have to go through hard times to become like a better human. And it's just like, sometimes it's hard to make that, you know, differentiation so that you can raise them properly and you actually have like decent humans as children. The world's scary though. Hi, Michael?
I was not saying
the time that Julian and I, when we both got diagnosed with ADHD and stuff, I ended up going on this like big deep dive on like ADHD and developmental like psychology, because there's a lot of things that so fucked me up from my childhood, and like I think the majority of people are that way. But like figuring out which situations have led to which different kind of like issues and thought processes that I have now. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's beneficial that I'm finally thinking that way, because then I can try to utilize that in my parenting styles with the kids. Because like, no matter what you do, you're gonna fuck your kids up. No matter what you do, you're gonna fuck your kids up. But the goal as a parent is to try to fuck your kids up as little as humanly possible. And that's fucking hard, because nobody knows what the fuck they're doing when it comes to parenting. You can just assume. Like, we assume that we're doing fine by not being biased with most things. You know, we're very LGBTQ open ally. So it's like we've always asked the kids, like, oh, you want to get married one day? And they'll be like, oh yeah. I'm like, you gonna marry a girl, or are you gonna marry a boy, or are you gonna marry this, are you gonna marry that? And they're like, probably marry a girl. And so like, we don't have a bias there. We also don't have a bias when it comes to like religion and stuff. Katie and I, we're both agnostic, so open-minded, but don't really know whatever is out there. But like, my grandmother's Mormon, my mother was raised Mormon, my father was raised Roman Catholic, so it's like, we're pretty open. And so we talk very openly about it with the kids too, in the sense of like, you know, we've expressed to Julian what like we think happens when you die, like what religion, like all the different stuff. We told him what we think, we told him what other people think, we told him why we think those things and why other people think those things. And like, he believes in a God, he believes in heaven and all that kind of stuff, and it was just like, he's fully allowed to have that opinion and talk with us about that. And I feel that being a parent is like, it's not your job specifically to shape this human, trying to turn this human into your ideal version of a human, but at the same time, it's just like, you have to be honest with yourself, like how biased you are with your opinions and the way that you look at things. Because if you're a heavily biased human being, if you're not reasonable, if you have strong hate for certain people and there's a lot of disgust in your life, I don't think that you should honestly be sitting there shaping your little human, because you're only going to shape them to be another, more in the same like realm that you're in. And if you're super negative, you hate a lot of people, you like have that kind of mindset, you're just going to create another human with that same kind of mindset, and like that's unfair and it's unnecessary. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's a bit of a gray area. Like Katie and I, we are raising our kids to try to be what we would consider ideal humans. They're kind, they're polite, they're sweet, they are learning their boundaries, they express their emotions appropriately, so they don't, you know, throw massive anger fits, they eat their vegetables, they eat their protein. Like actually the kids, it's hilarious, Katie sends them with a full like lunch with a bunch of snacks and cookies and shit, and it's always the cookies, the granola bars, and the Nutri-Grain bars that come home. They eat the vegetables, they eat the meat, they eat their sandwich, they eat whatever the actual main important parts are. And so like, we think that that's important, and that's something that we've done. There's a whole lot of things where, you really are trying to create what you would think is the best human, but in reality, it's like you need to also be honest with yourself with what a good human even is. Because if you think that you are a good human and you're just trying to create this human, this little child of yours to be just like you, maybe you need to really sit there and figure out what kind of biases you have before you go and try to like shape that. Because you have no idea the implications of that. I don't know. The developmental psychology kind of like going down that path kind of blew my mind, and it was something that I'm really interested in, and helps me a lot with clients and stuff too. But there's a lot of things that go on where we will change our approach like halfway through, just to like make sure that the right message is getting across to the kids too. It's a big one. Now this is not the best example of form, watching Michael, but that's okay, because I'm gonna jump in there and I'm gonna show some decent form. Well, what I'm aiming for with this pull down, you always want to think about having your joints stacked every single time. No matter what it is, you want your joints stacked, whether it's a push or a pull. Even if it's legs, your knees to be like your legs rotated, so your knees go up your toes. That's how your body's gonna work the best. So when you're doing a pull down like this, you want to make sure that you're pulling in a straight line, wrists all the way through your elbows. I like to tell people, like, think as if your arm is in like a tube. Your forearm is like passing through a tube, and you have no way to have your hands go lower or higher than your elbows. So that right there, that's a straight line I'm looking for.
That's what I did.
Yeah. To note, whenever you're doing like a chest supported row like this, is you don't want to be using your chest and like expanding your chest and swinging back with it, as you're utilizing like extra force momentum that isn't on the muscles that you're trying to challenge. So like if you watch 20 seconds ago, you'll see I was just driving my elbows up and back while I'm keeping my whole body as stable as possible. And that means that all of the tension is on the muscles that we're trying to hit. So none of this swinging, swaying stuff. We're gonna see this in a few seconds when Michael comes tries to set. He'll be doing some of that. We'll get a good example so we can show you what not to do. But yeah, that's how you want to do these. Go ahead, Michael.
Did one quick, real quick. Fucking toxic. Oh, I'm sure I can fuck this up.
I'm sure I can fuck that up.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good line.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck this up.
How you deadlifts feeling?
This sucks.
Your hands go wider. That's hard. Yeah, it is supposed to be.
Fuck.
He did a decent job.
Huh?
So he did a decent job. He did do a decent job. But he had an ego, has something to prove. Just glad that I can rag on him bad enough that he'll eventually have good form and force it. It's good, I like it, I dig it.
I know. Good exercise.
Last time we did that?
What?
The last time we did? It's not a very long range of motion movement.
Yeah, I think it just feels different than a regular exercise.
Well, normally we would do this with the chest support, right?
Yeah.
The iliac?
You switching it up?
Just a little bit.
That's fine.
So like, one thing too when it comes to parenting is, I think one of the biggest things is instilling like confidence and good self-esteem into your kids. But a lot of parents don't know how to do that right. And it's difficult to assume as much. And it's hard to like look at where you are and look at where you are confident, where you aren't confident, and try to break all that down. But you know, when it comes to like self-esteem for kids, you have to be able to compliment them and empower them. But one thing to always remember is like, kids learn through experience and through what they see, not from what they're taught. So it's like you could tell a kid being kind, being nice, having their manners and things like that is what's important. But then if you're cheering when they're winning things, or if you're cheering when they're doing something good, then like their notion of what like makes them of value won't be kindness, won't be all those aspects. It's going to be, oh, I have to be good at things to be worthwhile, and I have to win, essentially. And so then you let those kinds of kids grow up to be adults, and you have all these grown-ass children in their mid-30s, 40s, 20s, 50s, whatever, and they have low self-esteem and low confidence because all that was ever taught to them was that unless you have like large achievements, unless you're good at something, unless you're winning, it's not worthwhile doing. We actually got caught up in this with Kendrick a lot. So Kendrick is adorable. If you've ever seen any of the videos, you've seen the pictures, this kid, he like lives for the camera. He's got so much confidence. He says some of the funniest fucking shit ever. And he knows he's cute. He knows he's adorable. He knows he's funny. And it clued into me one day that we needed to make a slight change, because he came to me and he's like, I was like, I love you. He's like, do you love me because I'm cute? And I was like, well, yeah, but I also love you otherwise. He's like, is it because I'm funny? And I'm like, well, it's other things too. Is it because I'm good at this? Is it because I'm handsome? And everything that he named off was superficial. Mm-hmm. They're all things that like, it's good for sure. But if you think about that kid, like if they grow up, what happens when he goes through his ugly phase, that awkward phase that kids go through, and he's all of a sudden not cute, not handsome, and let's say girls and nobody's paying attention to him the same way, it's like that could destroy it. You know, if all of his self-esteem is wrapped around being funny, and he goes into school and all of a sudden he doesn't mature as fast as the other kids, and his jokes are about poop and farts and whatever else, and all of a sudden his peers aren't laughing and he's not funny anymore, like that could destroy his self-confidence. And so one of the big things that we've started doing is cheering when he uses his manners on his own, and like really acknowledging and like blowing it up what he does, something that is like good character, because it's a character that we want to build. It's not like his physique and everything like that shit can be important to him, but you got to make sure your kids have good self-esteem, because if your kids have self-esteem, then they can take over the world. Without the right self-esteem, you're never going to stand up for yourself. You're not going to ask for that raise. You're not going to take risks. You're never going to believe in yourself. And if you have a hard time with all those, then that correlates to a lot of other aspects too. It's like, how are you going to make sure that you're healthy? Are you going to be able to make it to the gym? Are you going to be able to do the things that you say you're going to do? Keep the promises that you make to yourself? It's like, there's so much that I wish my parents could have done differently for me, where I would have had more actual confidence and not this confidence that I have to try to portray and try to push through. It's like self-esteem is everything. So, raise your kids in a way that you think they would benefit the most. Self-esteem, confidence is big. Big.
You know what else is big?
These fucking lats.
Yeah.
These lats are big. Definition that you see right now, it's gonna be gone real soon. So I'm finishing up. Got a few more months left for off season, so I'm pushing food at like 3,700 calories. So I can't be sticking around 10% body fat if I want to put on more size, like actual size, before I start prep for competition next year. But because I was 167 the day before, so for weigh-ins before my competition, and then when I went on stage I was about 172. So And at 167, I probably still had about 3 to 4 more pounds of body fat to go. So we'll see. We'll see. I really want to keep competing in classic. If I get taller, that'd be great. So I might get an inversion table. One of those motherfuckers that pulls you upside down. We'll see if I can gain a fucking inch in height. I want to get one of those inverted tables and see if I can gain an inch in height. Okay, final thoughts for the day. It's like, again, touch on parenting, shit like that. Ultimately, kids are the future, they're the next generation, and like, set them up with a better chance of success than what you were given. Ultimately, that's how you should kind of look at parenting. You got kids, that's what you guys should do. Over and out. Catch you guys next week.